One text, 4 words, an address. Nobody in this city was supposed to know. You still look beautiful in cream. Simone Carter reads it twice in an empty corridor. She is a black woman, 29, a luxury events consultant who crossed an ocean for one signature, 300 guests, a fifth-floor ballroom in Seoul, her cream dress, and through the glass, a charcoal suit moving toward her with a patient smile. Daniel Mercer, the ex she thought she had left behind. She does not run. She threads between the tables. At the end of the marble bar sits a stranger the waiters will not approach. Black suit, untouched glass, empty seats on both sides. She sets her hand on his lapel and kisses a man she has never met. He goes still. Then his hand settles at her back. Over her shoulder, his gaze finds the charcoal suit and measures it. He turns his head, and above his collar the light catches ink. A tiger, crossing through black pine. Kang Tae-yoon, the black tiger. And Daniel stops walking. He did not ask her name. He did not ask what she was running from. He asked one question and rearranged the whole room around her answer. But a man who can empty a bar with his silence is never free, and neither, now, is she. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. Simone Carter pressed 2 fingers to her earpiece and moved through the ballroom before the string quartet finished tuning. The head waiter had loaded the wrong wine onto the far table. She caught his sleeve, turned him toward the service door, and spoke without slowing her stride. Chardonnay stays chilled. The Bordeaux breathes. Now. He nodded and vanished. She kept walking. 300 guests would arrive in 40 minutes, and the hotel's 5th-floor ballroom in Seoul still smelled of floor polish instead of orchids. She adjusted a centerpiece, straightened a place card, counted the champagne flutes with a glance. This was the account that had brought her across an ocean. 6 months of proposals, 2 rival firms undercut, 1 signature that finally made the consultancy hers instead of somebody's assistant. She had built it alone. She intended to keep it that way. Her tablet buzzed against her forearm. Floral delivery, loading dock. She turned toward the freight corridor and let the noise of the room fall behind the doors. Her phone lit in her palm. Unknown number. You still look beautiful in cream. The cream evening dress. She stopped in the empty corridor and read it again. Nobody in this city knew that dress. Her thumb hovered, then she looked up through the glass panel at the crowd already thickening near the entrance. She scanned faces the way she had learned to scan them. Waiters. A photographer. A cluster of executives shaking hands. And then, at the center aisle, moving with the unhurried ease of a man who owned the floor he crossed, Daniel Mercer. He wore charcoal and a patient smile. His eyes found hers through the glass and held them, and he adjusted his cuff, and he started toward the corridor doors. Simone stepped back into the ballroom. She did not run. Running drew eyes, and eyes drew questions, and questions in front of her first Seoul client would cost her everything she had crossed the ocean to build. She threaded between tables, smiling at a guest who touched her arm, agreeing to something she did not hear. Daniel entered behind her. She felt the shift in the room the way she always had, that quiet reorganizing of air around him. The bar ran along the west wall, marble and low light. At the far end, alone, a man sat with an untouched glass in front of him. The seats on either side of him stood empty, though the room was filling. Waiters slowed as they neared him and found reasons to turn away. He watched the crowd the way she watched it, reading it, and he wore a black suit cut close enough to cost more than the event. She reached him before she let herself decide. Please don't push me away, she said low, and she set her hand flat against his lapel and kissed him. He tasted of nothing she expected. He went still, and for one breath she thought the whole desperate gamble would break apart on the marble floor. Then his hand rose to the small of her back, unhurried, and settled there, and he kissed her as though the two of them had arrived together and meant to leave that way. Over her shoulder, his gaze moved once across the room. Found the charcoal suit, measured it. His mouth eased back from hers by an inch. Is he the reason? He asked. His voice stayed under the music, meant for her alone. Yes. He turned his head a fraction, and the low light slid along the left of his neck, and there, above the collar, ink showed for half a second. A tiger, crossing through black pine. Kang Tae-yoon did not hurry the motion. He let Daniel see his face fully, the way a man opens a door he has no fear of standing in. Daniel Mercer had crossed half the floor. Now he stopped. The smile came apart on him slowly, muscle by muscle. His hand, half raised toward his own collar, lowered. He looked at the man behind Simone, and the color left him, and he took one step backward into a passing waiter and did not apologize. Tae-yoon watched him retreat. His hand stayed at Simone's back, warm and unmoving, an anchor she had not asked for and could not now release. You're shaking, he said. I'm fine. You're not, he said it without weight, a fact laid on the bar between them. He won't come closer, not tonight. She pulled back enough to look at him. Up close, he was older than the crowd around him, still, patient, in a way that had nothing to do with calm. He had not asked her name. He had not asked what she was running from. He had asked one question and then arranged the room so the answer could no longer reach her. Who are you? She said. Someone at a bar. He lifted the untouched glass and turned it a quarter, then set it down. You chose well. Across the ballroom, the doors swallowed Daniel's charcoal back. He glanced once more before he went, and this time the look was not for Simone at all. It was for the man beside her, and it carried something she had never seen Daniel wear in 3 years of controlling everything he touched. Fear. Simone's earpiece crackled. The Bordeaux was breathing. The quartet lifted its bows. 300 guests were finding their tables, and her name was on the account, and everything she had built stood one floor up and holding. She stepped away from the stranger and smoothed the cream dress and turned back into the room she was paid to command. Behind her, Tae-yoon slid a card beneath the untouched glass and left it for her to find. She did not know yet whose neck she had kissed. She would learn before the champagne went flat. Min-jae slid the phone across the desk before Tae-yoon finished his coffee. On the screen, a shipping manifest, a face, a name. Daniel Mercer, he said, your consultant's ghost. Tae-yoon looked without touching it. He moves cargo through the West Docks, not ours. Min-jae tapped once. The cargo belongs to Park Jae-sung. That name changed the temperature of the room. Park Jae-sung had wanted the harbor contracts for 2 years. Now his errand runner had followed a woman into Tae-yoon's building, and no one had planned it. So she's not his weapon, Tae-yoon said. Or she's a very good one. No, he set the cup down. She's bait. She doesn't know she's carrying. Min-jae did not like the softness in that sentence. He had watched women cost men their throats. He kept his suspicion behind his teeth and left to pull the dock logs. Across the city, Simone let herself into the apartment and kicked off one heel at the door. The lamp was off. She reached for it and stopped. Something pale lay on the pillow. She crossed the room and picked it up. A photograph. Her on a rooftop, mouth against a stranger's neck, the tattoo caught in silver light. Her own hand had gripped his collar. She had not heard a shudder. She had not felt watched. She turned it over. You shouldn't have done that. The handwriting was Daniel's. She would have known it in the dark, on a wall, in her sleep. 3 years of notes taped to mirrors. The photo shook, so she put it down and pressed both hands flat on the dresser. The intercom buzzed. She answered it, because not answering was its own kind of surrender. "Yes. It's the man from the roof," said the voice. "May I come up?" She looked at the photo, then at the door. "How did you find where I live?" "I asked the building, badly." A pause. "Someone got here before me. I'd like to know who." She buzzed him in. He came without hurry, hands visible, coat open, nothing hidden. He saw the photograph on the dresser and did not pick it up. He read it from where he stood. "Park Jae-sung's man took this," he said. "Daniel took this." "My ex." Her voice held level. "You know the other name." "I learned it an hour ago." He stayed by the door, 3 steps of distance he did not close. "You're not a trap for me, Simone. You're a target for him. He's using someone I've spent years trying to bury." She wrapped her arms around herself and hated that he noticed. "Can I put someone outside?" he asked. "A car? One man. He stays on the street." "You're asking?" "I'm asking." Daniel never asked. She laughed, and it cut nothing. He decided. Which door? Which dress? Which friends? He'd say it was for me. "Do you want me to stay?" Tae-yoon said. "Or do you want me to go?" "Both are real." That was the trick of him, and she saw it and still felt it. The choice was actually hers. He handed it over like a key. "I spent 3 years having a man decide where I could go," she said. "I won't trade one for another." He inclined his head. "Then no car, no man, nothing you didn't choose." He reached for the handle. "Lock the top bolt when I leave. That's the only thing I'll tell you to do, and only because it's your lock." She should have let him go. She crossed the room instead. She took his collar the way she had on the roof, deliberate this time. No music, no danger pressing at her spine. She kissed him because she wanted to, and for one clean second nothing was chasing her. He kissed her back and let her set the pace. When she pulled away, she kept her hand on his chest, feeling the steady thing under it. "Who were you running from just now?" he asked, quiet. "No one," she said, and for once it was true. Then his phone lit on the counter where he'd set it. She wasn't looking to see. The screen turned up on its own. A message, a header, a logo she'd catered a gala beneath. Kang Sentinel. And beneath it, in the sender line, a string she'd heard whispered by 2 waiters, who thought no one listened. The Black Tiger. She went still. That name. Simone. They said it at the Huang party. They said it like a curse. She stepped back, 1 pace, then another. President of a security firm. That's the clean half. What's the rest? He didn't reach for the phone. He didn't lie, and somehow that was worse. The rest is the part that keeps you off Park Jae-sung's table. You're the boss. Her breath came short. Not security. The other thing. Yes. The man watching my apartment is scared of you. Yes. She pressed her back to the wall. The same photograph a foot from her hand. Every gentle question he'd asked reorganized itself into something colder. "You let me believe I was safe with you." "You were," Tae-yoon said. "That's not the same as being free." Her voice didn't rise, it dropped, and that was how he knew he'd lost. "You asked me every question but the one that mattered. You never once told me what you are. You never once asked." "Because I thought I already knew." She reached past him and opened the door herself, and this time the choice tasted like nothing. "Lock it yourself, on your way out." He looked at her for a long moment, the offer of everything still open in his hands, and no way left to give it. He stepped into the hall. She shut the door, turned the top bolt, the only thing he'd told her to do. Then she slid down the wood to the floor, the photograph face up on the dresser above her, and understood she was now hunted by two men, and had just sent away the only one who'd asked permission first. Simone dragged the last box from the closet and split the packing tape with her thumbnail. Inside sat an old laptop she hadn't touched in 2 years, its charger coiled beneath a scarf that still smelled of a life she'd fled. She plugged it in, waited for the screen to wake, and opened the folder she'd forgotten she made. Files. Hundreds of them. Scanned invoices, shipping manifests, bank transfers, routed through 3 countries. Her own handwriting in the margins of a PDF. Check these. Ask Daniel later. She had never asked. She had copied his work drive one anxious night, believing it was insurance, and buried it here. She clicked one manifest open. A cargo listing. A second name beside Daniel's, Park Jae-sung. Her stomach dropped. He had never hunted her for love. He'd hunted her for this. Her phone buzzed against the floor. A number she didn't know. She turned it over. I have something that belongs to you. Come alone or your mother receives everything you never told her. The words landed one at a time, like stones. Evelyn, her mother who thought Simone worked in hotels and dated no one. Her mother who still sent birthday cards to an address Daniel knew. A second message followed. A photo. Daniel, wrists bound, lips split, seated on a concrete floor she recognized. The disused port depot near the eastern piers. His eyes weren't defiant now. They were begging. Simone set the phone down and pressed both palms flat against the cold laptop, steadying herself. She almost laughed at the shape of it. Daniel, the man who'd broken her wrist and called it an accident, was now bait. Someone had taken him and pointed him at her like a loaded thing. She knew who. The name on the manifest told her. For a long moment she sat in the dark, and the old feeling climbed back into her, smaller than herself, cornered, watched. The humiliation Daniel had drilled into her years ago returned multiplied, because now 2 men wanted her in a room she couldn't walk out of. Her thumb hovered over Tae-yoon's number. He would come. He would burn the depot to the ground and everyone in it, and he had asked, once, only to help. She did not press it, because a man who asked permission still expected to be needed. And she'd promised herself, on a bathroom floor 2 years ago, never to be a thing that men rescued and then owned. She scrolled instead to a name Choi Soo-jin had given her weeks earlier, on a card she'd almost thrown away. The Kang Sentinel lawyer. The one who'd looked at her like a client, not a possession. Simone called. It's Simone Carter, she said, before Soo-jin finished her greeting. I need you. Tonight. Not him, you. A pause. Where are you? Home. Someone took Daniel. They want me at the port depot. They're threatening my mother. Don't move, Soo-jin said. I'm coming to you. 40 minutes later, Soo-jin stood in her kitchen, coat still on, reading the manifest on the laptop with a lawyer's narrow patience. She scrolled. She stopped. She scrolled again. You understand what this is, Soo-jin said quietly. Evidence. Leverage, Soo-jin looked up. Money laundering, bribery, and a direct line from Daniel Mercer to Park Jae-sung. Park wants Daniel dead and you silent. But he doesn't know you already have the files. She tapped the screen. He thinks Daniel's the only copy. Simone folded her arms. So I'm not walking in empty. You're not walking in at all. Not the way he wants. Soo-jin pulled a chair close and sat, level with her. If you go alone, you disappear. If you send Kang, it's a war, and you become a widow to a man you haven't married. There's a third door. Show me. They worked past midnight. Soo-jin sketched on the back of an envelope, the depot's layout, the piers, the single road in. She made 2 calls in Korean, low and fast. and wrote a word Simone couldn't read. A copy of the files went to 3 encrypted drops. A message drafted, unsent, addressed to a prosecutor Soo-jin trusted. Park expects a frightened woman, Soo-jin said. We give him one. Then we give him the ground opening under his feet. Simone stared at the envelope, at the little box marked Depot, and felt something she hadn't felt since the first message arrived. Not hope, footing. My mother, she said. Already handled. A car's outside her building in 20 minutes. She'll think it's a hotel comp. Soo-jin almost smiled. You're better at lying to her than you know. They rehearsed until the words were smooth. Then Soo-jin gathered her coat, and the plan sat between them, thin as the envelope it was written on. At the door, Soo-jin paused. You could still call him. Simone knew who she meant. No, she said. Soo-jin nodded and left. Simone locked the door and leaned against it. Somewhere across the city, in a concrete room, Daniel bled and waited, and Park Jae-sung waited behind him, and neither of them knew the shape of what she carried. She looked at the envelope. She looked at the phone, dark and silent, Tae-yoon's #1 thumb away. The plan was good. The plan was thin, and every part of it depended on Simone Carter walking, alone and unprotected, into the one room built to make certain she never walked out. Dawn was 4 hours off. She turned off the lamp and did not sleep. The warehouse smelled of rust and river. Simone stepped over a broken pallet, heels loud on wet concrete, and kept her chin level. The transmitter sat taped beneath her collarbone, small as a coin, warm against skin that had gone cold hours ago. Jae-sung waited under a hanging bulb. He smiled the way men smile when they have already counted their winnings. You came alone, he said, loyal. You asked. I demanded. Behind him, a shape stirred in a chair. Daniel. Wrists bound, lips split, eyes finding her with the old hunger. Relief and fury lived in the same face. Simone, his voice cracked. Baby, tell them. Tell them this is a mistake. She looked at him and felt the floor steady under her. Look what you made me do, Daniel said, leaning forward. All of it. If you'd stayed, none of this. Stop. The word left her quiet, and it landed like a struck bell. Daniel blinked. You did all this, Simone said, because you believed owning me was the same as loving me. It never was, it never will be. Something in his face collapsed. He had no answer, because there had never been one. Jae-sung tilted his head. He watched her too long. He watched her hands, her breathing, the way her eyes flicked once to the door and back. You are stalling, he said softly. He crossed the space between them. His fingers found her collar, tugged, tore the tape free. The transmitter glinted in his palm. Clever girl. He crushed it under his heel. Now no one hears you, Jae-sung said. The far doors opened without sound. Tae-yoon came in first, and his men came with him, and there was no shouting, no spray of gunfire, nothing that belonged in a movie. There was only speed. A guard reached for his belt and was on the ground before the reach finished. Another turned to run and met a wall of shoulder. It happened in the space of one held breath, brutal and clean, the arithmetic of men who had done this before. Jae-sung grabbed for Simone, his arm hooked toward her throat, meaning to make her a shield, a bargaining thing, a body between himself and the storm. She moved first. Soo-jin's voice was in her hands before her mind caught up. Drop the weight. Break the grip at the thumb. Turn. She twisted low, drove her elbow back, felt his hold slip, and stepped clear of his reach. 2 feet of empty air opened between them, and that was all she needed. Jae-sung lunged after her. He did not get there. Tae-yoon closed the distance and ended it. One motion, precise, almost gentle in its economy. Jae-sung folded against a support beam and stayed there. Breath gone, empire gone with it. Then the room was still. Simone backed to a wall and let it hold her up. Her lungs worked hard. Her hands shook now that they were allowed to. Across the floor, Tae-yoon turned, found her, and came fast, and stopped. He stopped an arm's length away. The tiger at his throat rose and fell with his breathing. His hand lifted, then hung in the air, unwilling to cross the last inch without leave. "May I?" he asked. She looked at him, at the man who asked, at the whole broken life behind her that had only ever taken. She opened her arms. Only then did he close the distance, and only then did he hold her, and she let herself be held because she had chosen it. Daniel was still in the chair, alive, watching. Tae-yoon followed her gaze. A muscle moved in his jaw. He said nothing, because it was not his to finish. It was hers. She did not let Tae-yoon touch him. She gave everything to the authorities instead. The files Soo-jin had gathered, the accounts, the years of it, the photographs she had once been too afraid to keep. Daniel Mercer left the country in cuffs, extradited, charged, named. A courtroom, not a river, closed the door on him. Simone signed her statement in a steady hand and walked out into ordinary daylight, and the door stayed shut. She was the one who shut it. Months later, a new hotel opened on a hill above the harbor. Her company ran the launch, Carter Hospitality, her name on the paperwork and the glass. She moved through the atrium in a pale suit, checking sightlines, adjusting a spray of orchids, saying the right things to the right people. Light poured through 40 feet of window. She had built this. No one had given it to her. He was standing near the fountain when she found him. Not a boss here, not a shield, just a man in a dark coat, watching the water. "Did you come to watch me?" she asked. "You made it very clear," Tae-yoon said. "What happens to men who do that?" "Then why did you come?" "Because you invited me." She stepped closer and took hold of his tie, drawing him in an inch. "Are you running from someone again?" he asked. "Maybe from you? Do you want me to stop?" She shook her head, slow. "No." She kissed him. Not to buy time, not to survive a night, not because a stronger hand had left her no other road. She kissed him because she had weighed every door in the building and chosen this one. Being protected had never been the thing she wanted. Being possessed had nearly ended her. The difference lived in a single question, asked and answered, and she had finally learned to tell them apart. A kiss out of fear is a cage, and a kiss out of choice is a key. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever known the difference between a hand that protects you and a hand that only wants to own you? Have you met someone, like Daniel, who mistook control for love and called it devotion? And have you ever kissed or stayed out of fear when what you longed for was the freedom to choose? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about freedom, dignity, and choice, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.